Hey everyone, in my last video, I showed why many Dallas realtors will struggle for listings in 2026. So today I want to show you the agents who won't be struggling and exactly what they're doing to get listings that you might not even have thought about. So because smart agents are still winning listings and they're just not cold calling anymore because that's kind of old school. You can still do it. You can still use your sphere of influence. But when you are struggling for new listings, there might be a better way to go about finding off market opportunities. So today I'm going to show you what some of those off market opportunities are and where the competition is almost non-existent. In this video, I'm going to show you how realtors are getting new listings, sometimes 1 to 3 a month, without ever doing cold call in 2026. So cold calling isn't the only game in town anymore. So unless you are on top of more than cold calling, more than your sphere of influence, most agents that are looking for new lead opportunities, new listing opportunities, have to move towards other niche markets. So they're trying to move on because they have burnout and rejection fatigue. I mean, if you've done cold calling in the past, you know that it can be inconsistent. It's unpredictable. You have low trust conversations because you're just cold calling. I mean, think about how you feel about cold calls and spam and if you can even get through. And there's zero leverage and scalability with that. And if your business only grows when you're chasing strangers, you don't own a business. You just own the treadmill, right? And you're just going to go round and round. So you want to start looking at some opportunities that will feel fulfilling and will also make you money. So if you're ready to talk about this new opportunity that I'm talking about and that I've been using since 2018, then reach out and give me a ring at 469-430-9885. My name is Nancy Wallace-Laabs. I'm a local DFW realtor here, and I have been investing in single family homes since 2006. And I've been helping realtors and buyers find and manage single family rentals. So one of the things that I think a lot of agents are probably focusing in on now, because there's been a lot about this on YouTube and, social medias, but, to make yourself stand out, you really have to kind of get hyper local focused, right? You have to know, what's the difference between Frisco and Plano. So I live in Frisco, Texas, but I know about Dallas and I know about Fort Worth and I know about some outlying areas. You want to be really focused in on that. What is going on in the neighborhood? What is going on at the school board level? What is going on at the HOA? Fort Worth versus Arlington, and why would people want to move there? Dallas investor pockets, which there's many, many of them. And if you know how to use RPR, you can find those hot spots that investors want to invest in. So, publishing consistently on YouTube, hey, that's where I'm at, right? Instagram, Facebook, because you want people to know that you know about the Dallas area or the Frisco area. So what people are looking for are people who are experts in the area that they want to invest. And not only that, investing, but where do they want to move to? There's a lot of agents now that are saying, hey, relocate to Dallas, relocate to Frisco. And there's so much going on in Frisco in our own backyard that it's a great opportunity for you to really excel and kind of shine, if you will, and get above the noise. Now, you want to monetize your sphere of influence. Well, what do we mean? Okay, that'd be great. Let's have everybody just give us money, right? So number one, if you don't have everybody set up on a monthly marketing, email list, then you need to start that. Do a newsletter with all the different templates and things that are at our disposal. It's easy. One of the things that I like to send out is, on the Texas, if you go to Market Viewer for Texas Realtors, and it's a snapshot of the month prior, you can get it by neighborhood, you can get it by county to say, hey, this is what's going on. It's super, super easy. The easiest listing is already in your iPhone. So there might be, again, this is going back to your sphere of influence and to kind of make connections. A good friend of mine that she's a top luxury realtor, and she makes a conscious effort about 3 times a year just to reach out to everybody in her phone, just to say hi, how you doing, catch up. So she literally blocks off time to do that. If you're a seasoned realtor, you might already be doing that. For newer people, they may not know that that's okay and how to do that. So there's always ways to find off-market listings, but you have to be in people's forefront, right? You have to target motivated sellers. There's nothing worse than kind of doing cold calling, or even when you're calling your friends up in your sphere of influence and they're not ready to move and they have no intention of moving for years. Yeah, maybe down the road. Like, think of it this way. Most people move about every 7 years, but right now people are not moving because the economy, because of interest rates, because of affordable housing. So, where can you go that people are motivated? Well, expired and cancels. That's usually what new realtors are taught. Go after expireds. So I just want to ask you this. If you were in a class that just recently graduated and you all got your license, and every single one of you is contacting the expireds, do you think those people are kind of worn out from hearing from realtors that want to, think that they have the latest, greatest listing presentation? So think about that, right? Same with the cancel. FSBO owners, tough crowd there, because that owner already thinks that they know what they need to do. So, you could spend a lot of time trying to convince them to list with you when all along their property is overpriced, or it doesn't. I mean, there was a reason they don't want to pay you, right? That's why they're trying to sell it themselves. Burned out landlords. That's actually a good list, because you can go. I used to go to eviction court near my house, and I would go there like every Wednesday, and I would just kind of network with landlords that were facing eviction, because man, they're tired, especially if they've been there. And if you go for a few weeks at a time, you're going to get to know the same people over and over again. And then ownership transitions, which is where I have had the most success with finding off-market opportunities. So you have to let the marketing do your introduction, right? What do I mean? So the best prospecting, happens before the phone rings. So I find it, for what I do, cold calling is not first of all, I'm not a big I'm not a big fan of cold calling. It's a lot of work, and sometimes it depends on the list, right? But I feel like you kind of have to warm them up. So I love doing direct mail. Those are what I like to do. Now, you may be somebody else that, you just thrive. I have a friend that she loves cold calling. She's very challenged by it, and she's very good at it, right? But sometimes you have to warm up the audience before they'll even talk to you, right? So if you can get through the spam and, you're a telemarketer and unknown phone numbers, sometimes it's hard to even make the connection. But if you do a direct mailing campaign, and you can do all kinds of things with that direct mailing, and you can customize it to the leads that you're trying to attract. So for example, when I'm working with very distressed people who have recently lost a loved one, so I have a special marketing campaign for those people. Sometimes in probate, you can have a campaign that goes to the attorney or to the personal representative. So you can customize your direct mail campaign. Doing the timing of your mailers, when do you put them out? How are you going to monetize that in terms of getting it out and quickly getting it out. So I do also like to include a QR code in some of my mailings for a direct response to a landing page. I think a lot of agents use this, where you say, hey, go here and find out, what your home is worth. And then you get their contact info that way. So there's all kinds of ways to go about getting the person to reach out to you before you have to actually do cold calling. Now, you can also use events to build trust fast. So several of my realtor friends, they like to do workshops for new home buyers. I like to go to investor networking groups, because sometimes I can pick up some deals that way. Or I can sell a deal, right? I can sometimes wholesale it. So downsizing workshops is a good one. Seniors that are looking to downsize or, move away, or, how do they handle the grandkids coming back? Inherited properties, that's a big one. You could just do a Q&A, invite an attorney to come in. I've already mentioned investor meetups, and then seller strategy seminars. And so this is actually a really good one for right now, because it's not so much a seller's market. In my last video, I talked about the Dallas market, how it's, kind of in certain areas, properties are sitting on the market a little bit longer. So what can sellers learn about in your strategy session? And then so you're building trust. You can also put that on social media as social proof of what you're talking about in a particular area. So the true edge in Dallas in 2026, and that is what I call the off-market property advantage. So being louder on the real estate wheel is not going to get you more leads. In fact, right now, the way things are kind of trending in video, TikTok, and all that is to be real, be authentic, make mistakes, be human, let them know a little bit about you personally. I'm not saying get all political or religious or anything like that. I'm just saying, what makes you a cut above the rest? There's a ton, I think a last count, I don't even know, it's in the tens of thousands, number of realtors in just the DFW area. And then if you go statewide, and then, as I've mentioned, I've seen in Facebook posts about different realtors posting or trying to list properties in areas that they don't even know anything about. So, you want agents who are looking to get ahead in 2026 are going to be looking for those off-market opportunities and really building a niche around that and helping solve people's problems that are going through a distressed situation and becoming a resource. And that will also translate into more referral business for those same kinds of folks. So you can get into what I call the off-market property leads, the smart lane, right? So you want to look at off-market leads as an opportunity. Now, these are people that generally off-market leads means somebody's going through some kind of distressing situation, foreclosure, a divorce, death. But you can become the key to working with distressed sellers is to become the trusted expert in the area of where they're living or where the property is. Sometimes just by bringing clarity to the problem, you can give them a clean process from start to finish. And I always talk about in Texas, we can buy and sell properties without having to go through probate. Now, in other states, you do have to go through probate, but that does not mean that you cannot assist the families prior to them filing and to actually help them find someone that can expedite the process. So it's when you start working with families in that niche, you'll find that it's a little bit lower competition for leads because not everyone will take the time to learn how to work these leads. Not everyone will take the time to know how to bring empathy to the table instead of, I always say lead with your heart, not your wallet. And sometimes when we're in a rush or we're feeling stressed ourselves, that's not a good fit for us in this realm. But if you're one of the lucky agents that can figure the niche out, working with people who have recently lost someone, you're going to be ahead of the game by tenfold. Now, if you're ready to get ahead with maybe 1 to 3 listings without doing any cold calling, then I encourage you to download our off-market property leads. There's a link below in the description. And it's completely free, and it'll give you an idea of what type of motivated sellers we're talking about, how there's low competition, and it's just a free training overview. So you can click below. Again, my name is Nancy Wallace-Laabs, and I have been using these particular type of leads since 2018. And right now in my current funnel in 2026, those are the only leads that I use. So again, download those so that you can learn more about how to find these off-market opportunities that can help you get 1 to 3 listings a month without having to do cold call.